the Democratic Party right now is, I think, going through a kind of experiment. Like, who can actually respond, particularly to young people's very real concerns about where they are at this point in their lives and what kind of future do they have for themselves. And I think that's healthy. I don't agree with a lot of the positions that, people take, but I want to see results.
Yes. Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, I think she said absolutely nothing there. Nothing that's recognizable as an actual thought. Isn't that amazing? Hillary Diane, wonder what her husband's doing today. Not only do I wonder what her husband's doing today, she wonders what her husband's doing today. Because, Speaking of which, I mentioned only, I think, at the very end of our Humble Radio broadcast yesterday, that yesterday was our wedding anniversary. My best girl and myself, we got hitched. It's official. And it was 7 years ago yesterday, after shacking up for 25 years, finally decided, what the hell, let's pull the trigger. Go ahead and do that 7 years ago yesterday. And talking to my best girl, we didn't make any big plans. We were kind of low-key about these things. But mentioned it yesterday, and I said, well, let's go find, maybe it's 7th wedding anniversary. I think it's the go to a nice restaurant anniversary. I'm just kidding. There's like a paper anniversary and a silver anniversary, and then there's the go to a nice restaurant anniversary, which might be most of them. And I came home and I said, well, let's talk about a nice restaurant for us. The weather is nice. We could go outside, sit on a patio, be real nice. What do you think? And so my best girl has one of these Apple iPads. Have you seen these? They're it's connected to the internet thanks to the patriarchy. And I have an iPad with a keyboard. It's similar. And we started looking at restaurants, and I said, you know what? For some reason, I'd like, if we just an appetizer, get a lobster. I'd like a lobster appetizer someplace. We'd sit on a nice outdoor patio, and the sun will be out, and the weather was real nice yesterday. It's real nice today, too. And, it turns out the weather on Earth is pretty good. It's pretty good for human beings, for people. It's wonderful. It's great. And so I got that. And then we talked about it for a minute. We poked around and decided, well, that's kind of boring, and that's kind of boring. So we made a change. I said, I'll tell you what. I will go to this. There's a fancy grocery store that maybe you've heard of. It's called Wegmans. Wegmans is the name of the grocery store. And it's kind of a fancy. It's like a Whole Foods, but different. Whole Foods is boring, and this Wegmans is there. So I got in my car and drove to this grocery store, Wegmans. And I said we had already agreed what we'd do beforehand. And I went into this Wegmans place, and they have live lobsters. They have live lobsters in a tank, and it's a water tank of salt water. And the nice lady goes in with a big hook thing and pulls them out. And then they steam them for you right there at the place next to the tank with the water, right? And then and I said take about 15 minutes because it was kind of a big lobster. I think I got the biggest lobster they had. It was 2.4 pounds. I don't want to exaggerate and say 2.5 pounds. It was 2.4 pounds, this lobster. It was a Maine lobster because why would you get any other kind? It has the giant claws on it and stuff. And I said, okay, nice lady. And she was great. She was really wonderful, the lady at Wegmans. And we stood around and talked and stuff. She said, well, it's going to take 15 minutes or something. I think it took a little longer than that. Put in this magic steamer machine, and it steams, and then it tells you when it's done. It's magic because the patriarchy invented that too, and also figured out how to get lobsters off the bottom of the ocean. You're welcome. And so did that. And while I was looking, I went and I talked over to the guy at the meat counter, and he was great too. They have a meat counter because it's like a grocery store, and they have this Wagyu beef, right? And there was a little, like an 8-ounce Wagyu beef steak. And it wasn't so much. It wasn't so much money. And I said, all right, I'll take that, too. I'll take that small but good-looking Wagyu beef steak and that big lobster. And then my best girl at the same time went across the street to a local restaurant and had them sling up a tub of mashed potatoes for us because they already got them done. And they're real good. So we did that. And I came home, my best girl, and I shelled the lobster, the tail and the claws and the big fat arms, the knuckles and stuff, and shook it out real good and cleared all the lobster meat out of the shelled beast. The should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas, a lobster from the bottom of the ocean. And 2.4 pounds, and then the little small petite Wagyu beef, which sizzled up real good here at home and got it nice dark char on the outside, and sliced it up, and it's just beautiful, this beautiful piece of steak, and went out onto our balcony because it's outdoors, and we were talking about an outdoor restaurant, and my best girl had a glass of wine, and I had a beer. It was a tall beer, though, a 16-ounce glass of beer, and not a Bud Light, of course. It was real good. It was a Bitburger beer. And so out on the balcony with 2.5 pounds of lobster and a little 8-ounce Wagyu beef and some mashed potatoes from the restaurant. My best girl made a salad at home. And we sat with music, nice little wireless music speaker out on the balcony, and sat on the balcony and had this lobster and the steak and the mashed potatoes and the salad, and tall beer for me and a glass of wine for my best girl, and music, and nice music. And we had the nicest time, just the two of us at home, one run to one grocery store, and that with no fancy restaurant. And I got to tell you, and it's even with all in, it was less than any restaurant would have cost, that's for sure. And you wouldn't have gotten lobster and Wagyu beef. So it was real nice, and just the two of us, very happy, and we settled in for the evening because we were full and all that stuff. And I'll leave the sort of details out, but that our 7th wedding anniversary, and real good, real nice, and especially because no plan. Here's the thing, I'm famous at no plan. It's I think spontaneity is good in life, and planning ruins that, doesn't it? Forward planning. So you just wake up and decide what you're going to do that day. I wake up every morning and decide I'm going to do a 3-hour radio show. But great stuff, just great stuff. I'm telling you. Yes, sir. So that's it. So happy anniversary to my best girl, and to me, too. That's right. Happy anniversary to me? That's kind of weird. I think so. Man, oh, man. All right, let's see. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Got some great American people on the line. Funny stuff. Let's go to I got to go to this. Let's go to Roy. Roy, you can call me Roy, calling from Manassas, Virginia. Roy, you're on the Chris Plant Show. You're out there in the world. You're out there running into people and stuff, Roy. What's going on with you?
Absolutely, out here driving a truck, Chris. Hey,
excellent.
Good to hear you. My favorite by far. Listen, something wild just happened to me about 10 minutes ago. I was 11 here in Great Falls. Go in and get me one of them little sandwiches and get out of my truck. Of course, I got you playing on the radio. And I get out of my truck and I walk to the door, and what looks to be a homeless man sitting there with his little radio, and he's playing Chris Plant Show. And I was like, I said, hey, bro. I said, you listen to my station. I said, he's my favorite right there. He said, well, yeah, I'm American.
That is great.
Exactly what he said. Yeah, I'm American.
That is outstanding. That is great. Just one in Great Falls.
That leads me to believe that even the homeless are smarter than Democrats.
I think that's absolutely true. Poor guy, he's on hard times, and he's fighting his way through. But he's smart. He's well informed, and he's got a great sense of humor. Right, Roy?
Brother, I'll tell you, it made me smile inside and outside when I seen that and heard it. That just, it's kind of nice.
That is great. I wish you were nearby. I'd go find him myself. That is great stuff. So you're going into a store. You're driving a truck. You stopped at a store to get something to eat. You said, and in Great Falls, Virginia, and you're walking in the store, and there's a guy sitting out front, a homeless guy, and he's got a radio, some kind of a wireless something. And he's listening to the great WMAL out of Washington, and he's listening to my radio show.
Hey, he's listening to you right now, Chris.
That is great.
Right now.
That is so great. I got to tell you, well, God bless him, and good for him for listening to WMAL in Washington and listening to my radio show. I think that's great. And it's kind of hilarious, isn't it?
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Just wonderful. Now, you're a Virginia guy yourself?
Oh, yeah. I call in your show all the time. A lot of times I got to get off here before I get to talk to you because of dispatch or somebody's calling me.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, you're my favorite, brother. You're my favorite. Listen, when you go on vacation, I'm not putting down your people that you bring in or anything. They're all great, but I think I'd just rather hear old reruns of your show when you go on vacation.
That is funny. That is funny. I think you can if you I don't want to, but I think you can because we post at the end of every radio show. We post today's radio show and yesterday's radio show on Al Gore's Amazing Internet. Peace be upon him. And I guess you could if you wanted to, but I wouldn't want to steer you away from anybody else,
Yeah, you ain't got to do it. I can do that myself.
Okay. Yeah. Roy, great stuff, Roy. Thank you, buddy. I'm saluting you. That's a funny story and a great story. I'm glad you called in to share it. That's a hoot. Thanks, man. There's Roy. See, there are normal people out there. America's full of nice, normal people. And Roy, and he sees a guy determined to. I got a homeless guy sitting here, and he's like, and Roy's he's talking to him. Hey, buddy, you're listening to my radio show. He's like, yeah, I'm American, aren't I? How great is that? That is just that's a wonderful story. Definitely not a Democrat. He says I'm an American, so he's definitely not a Democrat. That's a hoot. Funny stuff. All right, Michael, let's go to next phone call. Thanks a lot, Roy. That was great. Let's go to BB calling from the great state of Kentucky. BB, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Hi.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You betcha.
I wanted to say Islam is fundamentally not a religion. It's an ideology. It has a veil, of religion to give it control over people and protection. It does not deserve First Amendment protection. It's like communism. It's just another – communism says they appeal to the proletariat, to the workers. But what they really do, and they are successful because the success they have is the ruling elite of communists, as well as Islam, always get the money. They enrich themselves, and they are the richest of the bunch. The rest of the people are their slaves, just like in Islam. So I would say that for the most part, all of these communists, all of these Islamists, Muslims, and the combo of the two, the Red-Green Alliance, do not deserve First Amendment protection. We ought to throw every one of them out.
Well, are you running for Senate? Because, I think that might be a pretty good platform.
Well, I couldn't get elected because I'm not kissy face, and nobody would vote for me other than a few people because I'm not gonna play that game. I mean, when they talk about people in the Senate being their friends, and they're not. The Democrats are really communists. They're not your friends. They're your enemy. And people like, I've called a bunch with people like the Senate leader, and I've told him, and this maybe ought to be something that some states ought to do, where they have recall elections for people like McConnell and the leader of the Senate, and when they do not do what people in that state want, they ought to be recalled and maybe somebody else put in position, or at least vote somebody else in and get rid of them. Yeah. And that's what should happen to Thune.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you're not alone. I gotta tell you, you speak well. You say what you want to say, and you say what you mean. I think you should at least start with the House of Representatives.
One other thing is happening too. All these fires, all these wildfires that have been going on and have accelerated a lot. East Coast, West Coast, you name it. I bet they're largely arson fires intentionally set by not only the cartels, but the illegal aliens. And How many Chinese men do we have in the country that came over during Biden? At least 100,000. The problem is catching them, but it needs to be talked about. People need to understand this isn't lightning strikes for the most part. These are intentionally set arson fires to burn people out of their homes and impoverish them.
Well, a great many of them, listen, you're 100% right, BB, and on a great many of them in California and beyond, they've caught people that huge, Pacific Palisades fire, that was a left-wing angry, it was an angry left-wing arsonist. He was caught, and the news media completely ignored the arson, and it was the most horrific fire in the history of Western civilization, at least outside of warfare. BB, great call. You need to start with the State House then. You need to run for office. Now, talking to BB, and BB, I think BB should run for office. She should be the mayor, be in the State House on your way to the House of Representatives, to the Senate, to the Oval Office. BB, President BB. But she's just talking about all kinds of important stuff. Islam being an ideology more than a religion, and offering protection to people and like the communists and all this good stuff. Then talking about the wildfires, and that was great stuff. Well, and I have access to the internet here, and I did a quick search, BB, and listen to this. 4 days ago, Sacramento Bee. Arson arrest made after fire near Grass Valley that prompted evacuations order. A totally different fire here. Big fires in California and Texas and elsewhere. Striking pictures show aftermath of Stokes Bay fires with ground smoldering, and that's true, after suspected arson. So that's another arson fire. Then far away, Spokane fires. Man faces arson charges. Forces evacuations, got to evacuate all kinds. Destroys homes. More arson fires there. And here's the headline: When forest fire isn't an accident, the rise of arson-linked wildfires. And all across the country. And BB's talking about all the thousands of illegal alien Chinese that came in across our southern border, while the Biden family was collecting lots of money from Chinese communists in China. Big guy gets 10%. That was all China. And a Canadian climate conspiracy theorist pleads guilty, listen to this, to deliberately setting 14 wildfires himself. A climate conspiracy theorist. He's a radical left-wing environmentalist lunatic. Pleaded guilty to starting 14 wildfires himself. And in Canada, in Oregon, in Texas, across the country, arson, and you'll find that a lot of them are saving the environment. CNN is very upset, too. Now, I talk about this from time to time, and I mentioned a little earlier in today's big radio program, the number one cause of death. What is the number one cause of death in the United States of America? I went to the National Center for Health Statistics, which is under the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, cdc.gov. It's a government thing. They keep the numbers on this. And according to cdc.gov, the National Center for Health Statistics, leading causes of death. That's the headline on this page. A lot of fun putting that one together. Number of deaths for leading causes of death. The data are for the U.S., for the United States of America. Heart disease causes 683,491 deaths. Every year, the same number. I'm just kidding. I made that up. But that's what the year that they have this for. Heart disease is number one cause of death in the United States of America. 683,491 deaths. Cancer comes in behind heart disease with 619,876 deaths. Number two to heart disease, right? Cancer is number two. Heart disease is number one. Then accidents and unintentional injuries. 197,000. That would include car crashes and Muslim terrorists blowing up airplanes. Oh, sorry, that's not unintentional. Sorry. And then stroke comes in after that, cerebral disease, and that's 166,000. Chronic lower respiratory disease. That is a whole lot of different things. Aside from lung cancer and COPD, things like that. Alzheimer's disease comes in next, 116,000. Diabetes causes 94,445 deaths, and they got chronic liver disease, and suicide is way down here at 48,000. 48,000. Where's murder? Because I think Democrats murder about that many every year. Pretty remarkable stuff. So got that. Those are the biggest causes of death. And over the weekend, a friend sent me an internet meme thing. Good Catholic boy sent me an internet meme thing and said, number one cause of death in the United States of America. Number one cause of death in America. And again, here it is. Heart disease, 683,000. Cancer, 619,000. Accidents, 197,000. That's your top three right there. And my friend pointed out, but last year, there were 1.1 million abortions. Oh, boom. A little rim shot on that one. 1.1 million. It's 1.124, I think. I'm doing that from memory, but it's right. And 1.1 million, 1.124 million abortions last year. And ever since Roe versus Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court, and the Democrats all cried and panicked, and then they all decided to go out and get abortions, and now they have the morning after pill and all this stuff. And thanks to the patriarchy and big pharma, and the Democrats hate the patriarchy and big pharma, who do everything for them and keep them alive every day. And half the world, honestly, who saved more lives last year, big pharma or the United Nations? Just go with one pharmaceutical company versus the United Nations, and one American pharmaceutical company, any American pharmaceutical company, saved more lives worldwide than the United Nations did. Democrats are just wrong about everything. The left is wrong about everything. But isn't that amazing? So I thought, and my friend sent me this, and I thought, oh, that's quite interesting, being pro-life and everything. So that's quite interesting, fascinating. And when I was looking for these statistics, it's kind of crazy, because I went looking for them on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him, and the first thing that popped up was actually worldwide, and the number one cause of deaths worldwide. And amazingly, the number one cause of deaths worldwide is abortion. It's abortion. 77 million. I mean, it's completely crazy that the number of abortions worldwide, and that's the Democrats are pushing they think it's great. They think it's like lunch, because they don't like people. They really don't like people at all. Extraordinary stuff. Abortions in the United States, number one cause of death, ahead of heart disease, ahead of cancer, very substantially. Practically twice as many deaths by, and it's funny because I was talking about this. We were sitting in bed, my best girl and I, and we were talking about this. That you go look for it on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him, and it says, well, what do they call it? Grok, the artificial intelligence thing, pops up, and the artificial intelligence thing says, well, fetuses are not considered people, so we don't score that as a cause of death or as a death. They don't score it as a death of a human being, right? Isn't that amazing? So just remarkable stuff. And if you throw abortion in there, if you're pro-life and you believe babies were people, then they can survive outside the womb. Then it'd all be different. So that's the pro-life amazing story of the day, and it is an amazing story of the day. It truly is, because what the heck? Yeah, and you've been hearing about it forever, right? But and Democrats just and they control the media, information dominance in the media on college campuses. So they just get to fake it. Well, it's the number one cause of death, but we don't count that. So you don't count the number one cause of death. Well, you don't count them as people. And it actually says, and it's true, my best girl showed me this morning. She said, "Oh, look at this. Here's what it says, the Grok, the whatever." Yeah. And here it is, the Google. If abortions were counted as a cause of death, it would be the number one cause of death in the United States. Yes, mathematically, if induced abortion were classified as a cause of death, it would be the leading cause of death in the United States. As of 2026, data from public health agencies, the government run by the permanent bureaucracy, Democrats, and research institutes confirms that the annual number of abortions in the U.S. is significantly higher, significantly exceeds the number of deaths caused by any single medical condition or accident. Yeah, so that is good. Annual abortions, according to tracking data from the Guttmacher Institute, says that there were an estimated 1.12 to 1.14 million clinician-provided abortions in the U.S. annually, and official leading cause of death, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the actual top leading cause of death in the United States, hover around the following benchmarks, and they say heart disease, 683,000, cancer, 619,000, and they've just gone to great length. This is what artificial intelligence will do for you. AI and Grok. I'm going to keep doing my own research because the problem is these algorithms and these search functions have already been corrupted by Democrats who demand information dominance and get it most of the time. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. That's an amazing number. And the Democrat, now get your Muslim merit badge from the Girl Scouts, right? That's a crazy thing. The number one cause of death in America, don't believe him, it's actually abortion by a long shot. And Canada doesn't want to be a U.S. state because they already have all the privileges of being a U.S. state and none of the responsibilities or burdens of being Americans. We give them everything they need. Oh, and in fact, you see Canada is now threatening to withhold electricity from the United States. President Trump, and CNN is very riled up about this today. They're not riled up about human life. They don't care about that. But at CNN, we were just talking about the wildfires out west too, and all of them set by arsonists who are environmentalists. And the Unabomber was an environmental radical, blowing up people and murdering them because environment. But CNN today, very upset. They're looking at all the wildfires out west, and there are a whole bunch of them in Texas and in California, kind of all over the West, especially up in Washington and Oregon. And lots of them are set by leftists, by arsonists. They're deliberately set. And here's the headline on CNN on their lower third graphic with their weather guy pointing at all the fires on their big nationwide map. Weather complicates firefights in Nevada and Texas. It's August, and that means it's summertime. And so it's hot in some places. In August, they're just learning this now. But the banner says, weather complicates firefights in Nevada and Texas. But apparently only in Nevada and Texas. Isn't that amazing? And Texas, there are Republicans in charge, so they can blame them. Weather complicates firefights in Nevada and Texas. I think you might argue that maybe the fires are complicating the fight against the weather, because the Democrats are fighting the weather, but they're not fighting the fires. Looks like they're creating most of the arsonists. I went and found a CNN story from a couple of years ago where they're going on and on about how conspiracy theorists are spreading false rumors that wildfires are being set by arsonists. And more we're arresting arsonists for setting wildfires. But pay no attention to that. These people. CNN very upset today. They've got President Trump's making fun of Canada and saying Lake Ontario, the Great Lakes, which is bordered in the south by the state of New York, bordered in the north by Canada, by Toronto, and we call it Lake Ontario. Why do we do that? We should call it Lake New York. Come on, just like the Gulf of America. Why do we call it the Gulf of Mexico? Call it the Gulf of Chihuahua. Chihuahua, it's a little Mexican dog and a cartoon character, too. Isn't that amazing? And on CNN, they have Wolf Blitzer. He's apparently still on there. And they have Wolf Blitzer, and they had the Canadian premier. They have premiers. They're like governors, but they're Canadian, so they're not really governors. And they've got this guy whose brother is a junkie. He's the Ontario premier. Lake Ontario, we're going to call it Lake New York from now on. And just like the Persian Gulf is the Persian Gulf to the Persians, and it's the Arabian Gulf to the Arabians in Saudi Arabia. But never mind that. We should call it Lake New York. And the Great Lakes should be called the Great American Lakes. We should just take ownership of all of them. And Doug Ford is the guy, Ontario Premier, and he was on with Wolf Blitzer, babbling incoherently about all kinds of stuff. His brother, Doug Ford's brother, what's his brother's name, Michael? He's the mayor. Bob, of course, Bob. Is it really Bob? Oh, Rob, because they're like, otherwise it's Bob and Doug McKenzie, the Great White North. Oh, yeah, he died. He had drug problems and all that stuff. He was kind of funny for a while, though, and then he died, which happens. Many funny people have died. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's true. I tell you, we didn't even get to all of the nutty stuff from the Fox News channel last night with their jihadi they had on with Jesse Waters, Abdul Rahman Mohammed, and he's a real piece of work. I'll keep it clean because we're on the radio. He's a real piece of work. See, I can clean stuff up right at the last moment, but remarkable stuff with Abdul Rahman El Sayed, and he was on with Jesse Waters and just crazy. Crazy stuff. They're all nuts. Yes, sir. Well, actually, let's go to number 10 because, this guy is just, the Democrats are so completely nuts. Let's go to number 8, and we'll just go through a couple of these real quick because Jesse Waters asked Abdul Rahman Mohammed El Sayed whether he's in favor, because he said it before on video, in favor of reparations for black people because slavery. Now his family comes from Egypt where they invented the bullwhip, they invented slavery, they enslaved the Jewish people. Who do you think built the pyramids? And, Moses had to flee across the Red Sea to get out of Egypt because you guys and Charlton Heston was there. It was great. Here's Jesse Waters, Abdul Rahman on reparations.
Reparations. Do you support that? I think we need to have an honest conversation about the incredible debt that was put upon black folks as a function of slavery that we have yet to pay. And I just think that's fair. Like, if people are enslaved and forced into servitude, like in Egypt, and then we don't actually have a conversation about all that was owed, that our own country agreed was owed, I just think that it's past time to have that conversation. That shouldn't be a crazy thing. I think it's important for our country to have a conversation about how we make people whole.
You want to have a conversation about it because we have you on the record as backing it, but now you just want to have a conversation.
Yeah, he said because he's full of hooey. And I would have said, well, you're Egyptian. Your parents are both from Egypt. Do the Egyptians owe Israelis reparations? Because, Charlton Heston, the Red Sea, got the whole thing going there. And so the guy just couldn't be more full of hooey. And I also would have had much better responses in many instances here. Just extraordinary stuff. And, reparations. And what about sex changes for children? Are you for that? And he ran off the reservation again and all that stuff. Just amazing stuff. These guys, I'm telling you. Look, I've hit the wall again. I have to stop talking once more. But I'm not done yet, so don't go anywhere. The Democrat Party is attacking Donald Trump, and they're attacking a woman that works at the White House, a wonderful woman named Natalie Harp, who nearly died from bone cancer. And President Trump helped to fast-track her medical treatments with some developmental treatments, and she's survived the bone cancer, and she's actually grateful to President Trump for that. Now, the Democrats are such a gang of miscreants, keeping it clean, that even Democrat Senator John Ossoff, who's also known as Osshat, he's known as an Osshat, but he went after, Trump's going around having an affair with Natalie Harp. She's a bone cancer survivor who works in the White House. You people couldn't be filthier filth if your goal were to become more filthy. And he started this, and now we see today that President Trump is having fun with Canada again on Truth Social. The United States is giving serious consideration in changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America. And we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer, President Trump said. Funny. And then Democrat Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who just inherited her late husband's congressional seat because they are the third world. Debbie Dingell, a member of the House of Representatives, reposted Donald Trump's tweet about Lake America, which is a funny joke. And Debbie Dingell says, let's just call it Lake Natalie, referring to Natalie Harp. So we know you'll start protecting our Great Lakes. Well, it's true. He did help Natalie Harp survive bone cancer. But Debbie Dingell, you filthy, now I know why they call them Dingles, honestly. Dingleberry, she should marry, her next husband should be Barry, and then Marion Barry, and she could be Debbie Dingleberry. All right, let's go back to the because, look what I've done to the clock. I've done it again. Man, I wanted to get to Usha. Oh, let's go to Hassan Piker, number 16. Listen to this guy. We have barely enough time. Here's a Democrat leader. Listen to Hassan Piker. He hates the Jews.
That this connection between Israel and Zionism that is expressed over and over again through a lot of these Jewish institutions. Okay, is teaching people the idea that Jews are monolithic. And this is a dangerous, because look, it's a very dangerous mode of propaganda. And you want to know why?
Why?
Because people don't with Israel any longer. And if Jews in America keep putting this idea out there that they are singularly invested in Israel, eventually someone's going to come around and take action, not against the state of Israel, mind you, but against American Jews.
That's right. You've been warned. Hassan Piker has warned you, American Jews. If you're Democrats...